So Escape from Tarkov has been implementing some mid-wipe events for a while now. Some of them are more controversial than others, and in this video I want to talk about how whether you love or hate these events, they are probably one of the best things for the game and how your perspective is going to shape your enjoyment for the game over the coming months and years. I'm Jessekazam, welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. If you like this video, think about dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to the channel for more content like this. That stuff helps me out immensely with the YouTube algorithm and the growing the channel, so thank you so much to those that do that. I also stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in. So they've been doing these kind of events since right before the last wipe. The weeks leading up to the most recent wipe, they were doing a ton of these events. They were moving bosses around and stuff like that. And a lot of the community was saying that, like, these are really cool. We wish stuff like this happened throughout the wipe to keep things more dynamic and fun. And they've been doing that. And some of the things Nikita has said is that they have plenty more of these lined up to do throughout wipes and stuff like that. They've moved scav bosses around, like on Shoreline. They did the dehydration event and all sorts of stuff like that. And while this video isn't specifically about the current event that we have going on, I found it to be a perfect example of everything we're talking about, how frustrating, but also how much potential that these events can have on the game and how your perspective of the game really changes how you interact with it. So, you know, the TLDR of this event is we don't really know what it is, and that's been really interesting. All we know that it's a loot event. We get this really vague message from Fence. We get some responses to people from Nikita on Reddit. You know, he throws out the words dynamic loot, and the explosion happens where people are saying it's one thing. There's information, misinformation, guesswork, attributing other things to the event. And it's been a really interesting thing. We know that this isn't a full-fledged dynamic loot. We know that Nikita said this is like the first in a multi-step process of testing things out so that we can push towards dynamic loot, which is something that the community or a large part of the community has wanted for a while. But it's been interesting because there wasn't a lot of information, and that can oftentimes breed frustration. I'm not here to dumpster on any specific type of player. If you run labs 24/7 and all those rooms that you spent all that money for those key cards that loot is gone, I can understand and empathize with the frustration there because something changed kind of radically. It's obvious that they don't want us to know a whole lot about this event. And another layer to the frustration is that BSG has a history of implementing things, and we don't know if they're a bug or a feature. That was displayed better than ever in the podcast that we did with Nikita, where we learned about things there live with him in a conversation that we thought were features that turned out to be a bug. So once again, I can empathize with people thinking something's a bug and they say it's an event and the trust not really being there. I totally get it. I do like that the community is kind of coming together to figure some of this stuff out. I like that we're getting screenshots of new loot and new places. And once we get over that initial bump of frustration, there's actually a lot of cool things that can come from this. But it all comes down to how you look at Escape from Tarkov. And that is going to dictate how much fun, if you get that like fun community vibes of everybody figuring it out, or if you just get total frustration. And what I mean by that is we have to remember to look at this game as fluid and not static. If you look at Escape from Tarkov and its future as this is the game that we have, and the future of Escape from Tarkov is just better it's just better netcode, better audio, more guns, more maps. This is the game. We're just making it better. You will be severely disappointed and frustrated when these big, sweeping, game-changing things come to the game that fundamentally shift how we interact with it. If you look at the game the way that they're trying to tell us to look at the game, which is a shell of the game that they want to make with huge fundamental pieces missing from that game, and over the next few months, weeks, years, they're going to slowly start implementing those big changes and tweaking everything else around it. Well, that's a completely different perspective on the game. And then when you see these changes coming, you're much more likely to interact with them, try to figure them out, and get involved in that process. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on every single one of those game-changing features that they talked about in the past because things might get cut, features might get moved, but it's really important to know that these things are starting to come sooner than later. Not only are these events a part of that process, but even BSG kind of gave us an update, kind of like a vague update on the roadmap on their Twitter, and they seem to be implying that the next few months are really, really crucial for them in implementing some of these bigger features alongside some of the other content that we know about. So this isn't just some vague future of Escape from Tarkov, things are going to change. This is really looking like it's kind of already begun, and it's only going to move faster as time goes on. But the point is, how you look at the game determines how much fun and how much enjoyment you are going to get out of these events and features. We know Nikita said that they have tons more of these events coming, and they are specifically designed to shake up the system, to shake up a part of the system, to gather data on a specific thing. They are supposed to move people around and kind of jostle up what we're used to. And if you're looking at the game expecting those things because you know big things are coming, then you're much more receptive to learn these changes and try to understand them. If you look at the game as this exact game that we have is what I want and I don't want it to change, then of course every single one of those changes are going to be viewed as hostile. And so at the end of the day, I can't tell you what you want. If you do want this version of Escape from Tarkov that we have just better, that's understandable. It's just not what's coming and it's not what's happening. So I'm not here to tell you that it's a good thing or a bad thing, or the changes are good or bad, or that you're wrong or right. I'm just here to say that Nikita and the team have been pretty transparent about the fact that the game we're playing is not the game that's going to be shipped when it's done. It's important to remember as well that these events aren't just to like shake up the wipe and have fun and have, community stuff. It's that they're gathering a lot of data when they do these events as well. They're pushing players around. They're learning what's going to happen. They will oftentimes way overtune these events on purpose and then dial them back because they can get a lot of data when they make extreme changes. For a few days, they can get a lot of data from that, and then they can maybe dial it back and hone it in, take a bunch of notes on that, and then the event is over. And sometimes they just straight up mess stuff up, like the dehydration event. Nikita ended up going on record and saying that it was supposed to work where nighttime raids and inside maps like factory and labs, you didn't get the dehydration effect, or at least not as much. But that is not how it worked. Everywhere you went, you got that dehydration. So it's obvious that that event was intended to maybe push people to night raids or move people around, and it straight up didn't work. And that can be frustrating, but it's so much better to mess something like that up on a 3 or 4 day event than on a wipe or on a big patch day. So there's a lot of value to these events outside of just keeping a wipe feeling dynamic. There's a lot of value on the back end for BSG as they collect data and as they work on some of these bigger changes. Another criticism that I hear a lot that I try to empathize with and be understanding of is that there are always, new players that might get disproportionately affected, so that don't have money or the experience or know, where to get, food and water for the dehydration event, or know the best ways to get fuel when they did the fuel shortage or something like that. And I can understand that, but we have to understand that there will always be new players, right? There will always be a certain amount of people that are newer to the game, and they might be frustrated and they might not understand what's happening with the event, but there has to be a time to do these things. At the end of the day, I know people hate to hear it, but it's a beta. For a long time, a huge criticism of BSG was that this game's a beta, but they're not testing things out. Well, now here we are on the flip side where they're testing things out, they're switching things around, and of course there will be people that are newer to the game that don't really understand what's going on, and we've got tons of discords and forums and places for those people to be, but there has to be a time for this testing to take place. We want this. If we only get changes on these wipes that are getting farther and farther and farther away, then it's going to be harder to make meaningful changes. All of these small data points really add up to big changes and information that they need. So there will always be newer players to the game, but we have to understand that this is what a large majority of the player base has been asking for so long. So I hope that this helped. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the whole point of this video is that your perspective of the game is really going to determine how much fun you have playing it over the next few years. It's not emotional. It's not opinion. It's not me trying to convince you that I'm right or that you're wrong or anything like that. They have been clear that a lot of the systems in the game will change and that the current game we're playing is a far cry from what they want to do. And if you can understand that or at least be aware of it, then you can provide better feedback as these events come to them. So hopefully we as a community can learn to kind of like cut through that, learn to enjoy these events and enjoy the mystery and the variety of them, and provide valuable feedback to Battlestate Games so that they can make the best game that they can. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to check out this video. If you like it, think about dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Like we said before, I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And if you're looking for people to play Tarkov with, our Discord server is an awesome place to be. That link is down below as well. Thank you again for stopping by, and I will definitely see y'all on the next one.